hear me?
Yes, I'm able to hear you. Everyone's already waiting for you. So,
Okay, great. Just
so
one
I'll-
second.
yeah,
Let me
let me.
adjust my audio and video.
Yeah, in the meanwhile, I think I'll introduce you. Not that you need much of an introduction. Uh, good evening, everyone, and welcome to the second webinar that we're having today. Um, I'd like to take this opportunity to welcome our speaker for today, Mahesh Arali ji, and a few words about him, but I'm sure many of you probably know him already. But like if there was anyone, no, but I don't think anybody from JNV Ranga Reddy of those batches would be here on this group. But years ago, I remember this was 2012, right? 12, 13. I think that was a time, Mahesh, when you used to spend so much time at with the Dakshana scholars at JNB Rangareddy. I think every other weekend Mahesh would be there, and those scholars had a great time with Mahesh. He showed them so many motivating movies. He, I think, shared so many books with them, and they got the best from Mahesh. So they were the lucky ones. Uh, and as you all have read, Mahesh has been with Microsoft for years, and now he's in Bangalore. So without wasting much more time, I'll hand over the uh, thing to Mahesh, and please share with us. Thank you.
Thank you, Sharmila, for the introduction. Hello, everyone. Am I audible? Is
Yes.
my audio very clear? Okay. Yes. So, yeah, this is really, for me, this is really a very humbling experience, and also at the same time very enriching experience. So, over the period of time, I have also evolved myself as being a better mentor, and I really feel very happy now to see few of Dakshana scholars as my colleagues in Microsoft. So uh, whenever I look at them, I talk to them, it just it makes me believe in the cause of Dakshana more strongly than ever before. So for today, I would like to touch upon various topics, and I would like to focus mainly on right. So over the course of last almost a decade, I have seen questions from different scholars, and I have list of those questions and kind of responses that I have given in my mind. But however, I will just go through some of those questions first. And if you think that hey, there are some other questions that probably you want to hear my thoughts and my opinions about, then please try to share them on the meeting chat. So let me just summarize kind of things I want to talk today, and then that would give you chance for asking questions. Sharmila, is the meeting chat enabled on this meeting? Would they be able to type their questions in the
Yes,
chat?
yes, yes,
Okay.
yes.
So I'll be covering some of these areas. So these are some of the first set of choices, right? Once you are out of your graduation, everybody want to know, should I join a tech companies or go for higher studies or start your own company or go for MBA, right? So these are four options, and there could be some other, but these are quite popular four options. So a lot of people have doubts on what should I do and how do I pick one or the other, right? What is better for me? Then within the technical industry, the roles that tech industry offers, uh, the those roles are of different degree, and many of them are I'm not sure if these are covered as a part of our academic curriculum. So for example, if you just take software industry alone, there are roles called programmer or product manager, then DevOps engineer, then data scientist, and then there is something called SRE, which is site reliability engineering, and then SDETs. So these are some of the roles. Now, which role to go? And for a lot of people, what happens is they just give campus interview and then they go ahead with whatever is that the company is choosing, right? Then there are other things like, should I join a small company versus big company, right? What are the pros and cons? Should I go with an established company or not? Then basically a startup versus established, right? And then even if I go with uh, I mean what one of these companies, what kind of uh, technical stack I should get into? Should I go with back end? Should I go with front end, which is UI and mobile applications, or uh, the client applications or services? So again, you have that doubt, which one to choose. And then finally, how do I prepare myself for a career in technical industry? If you choose not to start your own company and work for someone initially, then what should you do, right? So that is the last part. So if you have any other questions other than this, feel free to drop. Just give me a second. There is. I need to get my charger. Just give me a second. My laptop is not getting charged. I'll just check it. I'll just fix it.
Sure. Thank you.
Yeah. Meanwhile, just take a pause and think what questions you have, and if you need me to clarify.
So I had written this earlier in the chat box. A lot of you have joined later. So if you have any questions, just keep typing them in the chat box so that we can take them as and when Mahesh can, or even at the end of the session.
Yeah.
Mahesh, incidentally, are you leading the team for teams in India?
Yes.
Oh,
So I
wow.
am heading. So I'm really happy to see you all of using Teams. So I'm heading the engineering systems or the backend system for mobile applications, both iOS and Android.
Oh, wow. Amazing.
It's very gratifying to see all of you use. My family is using Teams. My both kids are using Teams, and wife is using Teams.
Wow. All of Dakshana has moved to Teams. And like I told you, all our email addresses are also on the Microsoft server now. So we're all
Nice.
one family.
Yeah. Okay, so let's get started, right? So the
Sure.
very first thing, right? Whether you should join a tech company after your graduation or go for higher studies or start your own company in MBA. Now, for anybody who want to choose between these options, right? Uh, the MBA one, what I would say is you need some work experience. And in fact, there are a lot of MBA programs where work experience is one of the mandatory requirement. Why is that? Because to learn to manage things and learn to lead things, you got to first experience first in hand what it means to work in a team, what it means to be part of a project and be part of a team. Unless you have experienced that, it is very difficult to get into this kind of mindset. So you need to first be on the receiving side, or be you need to experience it from the other side, and that is when it is better to go for MBA. And now within MBA, there are various things, right? There is a business leadership, there is consulting, there is finance, all of these different domains. So my suggestion would be work for some years before you jump into it, because that would help you to really get a lot of benefit out of your MBA. Second thing is, when you work for some years, you will have a lot more clarity on why should you do MBA. You would enter into MBA with a clear goal in mind. Why are you getting in there? So that period will help you establish that clarity. Now, this is about MBA. Now, whether you should go and work for a start your own company, right? See, ideally, if you're completing your education with an education loan, then your choices get limited because you need to start paying back the loan, right? So now in that case also, you need not start a company uh, directly, but you can join somebody where already the funding has come in, where already you can draw a monthly salary. That is one option. If you are getting to join somebody as a co-founder where they have some funding in place, and you can actually get monthly good decent monthly salary to take care of yourself and pay your loans, then you should go for it. But if that is not the case, then with your education loan, then it becomes a little tricky. But however, considering the way the tech industry is growing, and especially the job market in India, we have come a long way. And there is, I mean, this is the best period to be in India and to be in tech. We have huge set of problems, and we need a lot of people to solve those problems in a creative ways. The whole ecosystem, whether it is the venture capitalist to fund these startups, or whether it's a technical stack to build something, all of those are becoming more matured year over year. And there are now, like, the number of startups that get registered in India, it just keeps growing every year by year. So if you want to start a company in India, I mean, this is the best time. There hasn't been a time like this before. That is what I can say. Now, balance that with your situation. If your finances let you do it, they let you support it, then go for it, right? And if you have a good idea and good partners to work with, then that is the option. That is the best option. But say, for example, you want to postpone that decision for some years and you want to have a stable job, right? In that case, now whether to go with an established company or a startup. Now, this debate is very interesting because each of them open up a unique perspective and help you develop skills in their own way. When you join established company like say Microsoft or Amazon or Google, any of these companies, you get to work into a system which is like really large scale, whether everything from how that team is run and kind of product and service they are building and kind of end users they are catering those services to. So all of this is at a really high scale, and you get to experience that scale where you have, the lot of certainty. Of course, there is nothing like absolute certainty in the jobs, even in established companies. There are times when business decisions change and teams get shut down, and you will be asked to move to other teams. But in relative comparison, there is a lot of certainty. Your paycheck will come every month, right? Plus companies investing in that product and idea. Plus you have a diverse set of talent. You have separate designers, you have security experts, you have service engineers, you have front end engineers. So there is already a well established disciplines and team in place. And each of you, when you join this established company, you play just your part, like you play your role. If you're joining as a designer, then you just do design, right? If you're joining as a programmer, you just write code. So your role and responsibilities are well defined. But however, the advantage is you get to experience the scale of it, the breadth of it, how something can be developed and built at such a large scale and then deployed to millions, and even some products and services are catering to billions of users. That is what you learn in established companies. Now, in the startups, you will end up wearing multiple hats. You will be your own designer, programmer, then site reliability engineer, and you may end up doing your PR, then online marketing. You may just touch upon everything. That is the advantage that startups give. But then they all come with huge amount of uncertainty. The second thing is, in startups, the scale initially will be very small. So you may not master how to develop things at scale. Not in all the startups. There are very few startups which have exponential growth and they achieve a scale. So what I mean by scale is building software for few thousand users versus building it for couple of 100 million users is entirely different. The complexity, the engineering, and efforts involved are totally different if you want to build a software for few thousand people versus couple of 100 million users. And as And to be honest, like 10 years ago, it was way more harder to build a software for say even 10 million users. But now with Azure and then AWS and Google Cloud, a lot of these cloud providers, building scalable software is becoming more easier and easier. Earlier, whatever we used to take, about 100 engineers to build from top universities of the world, now probably 10 people can build that in their garage or in their room. So that is what the cloud technologies have enabled. But however, it is still complex doing anything for scale. Now these are the trade-offs between startups and well established companies. Now within tech industry, there are different roles. One is called program manager or product manager. So this is where there are times when I have seen people who just work for 2 years as a software engineer and get onto a MBA program with ISB or IIMs, and then they join back tech industry as product managers or program managers. So in Microsoft we call program managers, but in other companies there is a they are called product managers, and then there is separate stream which is called product marketing. So these are the people who are very good with design thinking, understanding customer requirements, interacting with customers, ability to understand, unmet and unarticulated needs of these customers, and then ability to engage with these customers, do the required data analysis, and take all of these input signal and come back to their team and leadership and say, we need to build this product in this particular way, we need to have these features in this product, this is how we should go about it. So they build that product vision and roadmap, and then they work with the leaders on engineering side to break that work into smaller trackable tasks or features, and then track the delivery of those features till all the way they reach customer. And their job doesn't stop once it reaches customer in a services industry. What I mean is software as services industry. So they need to keep track of how is this software being used, and based on that data they need to keep iterating to make this software successful. So what kind of personality, or what I'm generalizing here, so don't take it take it with a pinch of salt. uh, any generalization always has exceptions, right? So I'm generalizing here. Anybody who likes to interact with people, anybody who is good with communication, anybody who can work with diverse set of people, and anybody who can drive people towards a common goal. You need to be extremely good at communication, then people skills, the soft skills, and then very passionate about technology, and then ability to empathize with customers. So if you have these kind of qualities in you, and if you have led in your college, if you have organized things, you have led a team, you have organized the events and all, where you will have to work with people, in those cases I would recommend choose this as a career. In this career you don't end up writing any code. So you write specifications, you write some of the PR content, you write the software requirements specifications, and then you engage and drive and track things. You will not usually write code in this. And there is some amount of data. Now PMs and product managers are expected to be very good with data analysis. You may not end up building the data analysis pipelines, but you may have a data in some repo, but then you need to learn how to query this data. So that is where the technical line get drawn for product and program managers. Now the very simple and straightforward role is the programming role, right? Initially, in the early years, at least for 4 3 4 years, you write code under another technical leader or a senior engineer, and initially you get to fix bugs, work on smaller features, and then you keep getting a bigger chunk of work. So initially 2 3 years you write code yourself as an individual contributor. Then after 3 4 years you get a big chunk of feature to deliver or user experience to deliver. In those cases you will be asked to design it and identify all the work that need to be done, where now you will take more than two, say, software engineers, and then you lead that small team, and this is usually called tech lead role, where you are starting now leading 2 3 people to finish a task. And then if you continue further in this role, you will be called senior software engineer, and then you will start getting into lead or a manager role, where you start driving a bigger team and you start getting more ambiguous problems to solve, right? So this is the career in programming. And in the career in programming, you can keep, in both, whether you're a program manager or a developer, you can keep growing all the way to the top. So for example, Satya came from programming and he became dev manager, and he has grown to be a CEO, whereas Sundar was a program manager and he grew as a PM, and then he became CEO. So there are people on both streams. They have grown to become directors and general managers, and then eventually they have become CEOs. So both career paths will groom you to be a head of an organization someday in future, and they are unique in their own ways. Now, within this, there is another path, which is individual contributor, where you don't want to manage people. You just love to code and love to design and architect software. So in that case, a lot of the top companies have something called individual contributor roles for people who want to remain programmer and who don't want to manage people. So for those kind of people, in Microsoft, we call them principal software engineers, then we call them architects. So this is a role where you will own a very big and a hard problem, but you will have a lot of junior engineers working for you, but they don't report to you. They report to another manager, but then you are in charge of solving bigger and harder problems. So that is another career option. Now, somebody who is generally not very reserved and don't like to manage other people career, right? I would recommend you can go to this role. So because some people, because when you're managing somebody's career, you are really looking after them, right? You are looking after their emotions, their aspirations, their ambitions, their ups and downs. You are able to judge them, identify what is holding them back from growing, then you are able to coach them. So you are very good with communication, people skill, emotional skill, EQ, right? And then even some psychological skills as well. So you are able to really understand the personality type, and you know how to coach that person. So if you like doing this, you can join as a programmer and grow to be a leader in the programming stream. But if you don't like this, then you can remain an individual contributor. The next one is DevOps. So DevOps is more about building engineering systems where you, through this system, your whatever single line of code is written is get built and then delivered to the production. It is extremely vast and extremely big area. I will not be able to cover it in this talk, but if you can go and search online on something called DevOps. In Microsoft, we call engineering fundamentals. So any code that is in this role, you are not directly delivering features to the customers. You are building a software which helps the other software engineers to build and ship their software to customers. For example, you are taking care of the infrastructure for the build, automation, then incremental deployment, then experimentation in the production to try different features with end users, and then do a gradual deployment across all data centers in the world with the necessary checks and balances. So this is what the DevOps role would be. Then there is a role called data scientist, where you have heard a lot about AI from so many technical leaders, how the AI and data scientist roles have really spiked up in industry. Almost many areas or the many industries where already the software is built, in next 10 years, right? Almost every each part of this software, not each part, what I'm almost every software, there will be some part where AI can be used, and that can automate some of the scenarios that we couldn't automate before. So within 10 years you would see AI get embedded in most of the softwares that you use. And in the team software right now, you will see AI being used in certain areas already, right? When you get a message, you already get what to respond for that message. That is built on top using AI. And we have also ability to capture the meeting notes. Whatever is being said is directly being converted to text and captured. Even that is based on AI. So most of, I mean, in Microsoft products, we are adding AI into most of our products in wherever there were some of these hard problems to solve. Then the next question, yeah, before I go further, I just want to pause and check if you had any questions on areas I covered so far. Yeah, feel free to unmute yourself and ask. And then also, I'm just looking at the chart history to see if there were any questions. Are there any other questions?
Nothing seems to come as yet. I think you can
Okay.
continue. Yeah.
Okay, I'll continue. So we talked about, the four major like choices after graduation and then different roles. Now, why am I talking about roles, right? So often what happens is you will not get chance to choose the role in most of the cases. Now it is super important that once you get in, you understand that role and then see does it match with your personality type, or are you willing to expand your personality to suit that role. What I have seen is when that mismatch happen, people really don't enjoy their work they are doing. People really don't enjoy their role that they are playing, and then they start thinking that, oh, this industry or this job is not for me. So this is where whatever I'm trying to tell you today, you should recall this and see, hey, am I in a wrong role? Is there a mismatch between my personality type and what this role is about? So you should really think about this, because as a freshers, when you join, not many companies will tell you in detail which team they are putting you, right, and what role they are giving you, and then what technical stack they are giving you. A lot of the time it is very hard, because if we have to do that, then we will have to do further assessment on your competency, your skills, your personality type, and so right now you see the interview loop. There are only two, three patterns, and based on that pattern, we just put you in one of the role based on what we think is correct. And these decisions need not be perfect always. So please keep a open mind and eye about this. And then if you think that you have entered into this kind of situation, I would advise to change. The second is on the technical stack. So some people, they are very much inclined and excuse me. So some people, they like doing the user interface. They like designing applications. They like uh, designing the mobile apps, and they have a keen eye or sense where they want to see how the UI is being done, right? Now, there are some people who really don't care about the color of the button, where the button is placed, or what kind of coloring is used, what kind of alignment is. They just want to build a scalable database or a scalable backend system. In that case, if you are made to work on a client side product, you will not enjoy it. So you need to see whether, irrespective of what your company choose, right, for you need to see, am I enjoying this role? So in initial years, you need to keep an eye open and check with your friends and colleagues in the company. How does their day look like, right? How does their job look like? What do they do on a daily basis? And based on that, you should decide whether you want to try that role for yourself. Now, I have seen where somebody is too good with UI, but then is asked to work in services, and somebody who is not good with UI but being asked to work in UI, and then they would not perform better. They would 1 second. Yeah, let me fix it. 1 second. Is it better now? Okay. So now this is where you need to be very careful. Like I said, you need to see, is this job meant for you? Is this technical stack meant for you? And if not, I would suggest to change. Then the third and the most important part is the leader you work for. See, as I was in the early phase of my career, I used to choose the team or say a job. I've been with Microsoft for 13 years, but then I have changed teams within Microsoft, right? So I used to get excited by the technology and the stack. And I used to make my career decisions or choices based on that. But what I slowly realize now is instead of technical stack, you should actually choose the leader for whom you want to work. Because if the leader is good, then the leader will make sure you get something good to anyway. So instead of choosing, say you end up reporting to a manager or a leader from whom you are not learning anything, you are not being inspired, and that leader himself or herself hasn't yet groomed into leadership role. In that case, you should try to find a different company or a different team, because you will learn a lot from good leaders. And if you get a good leader to work with and work for, please latch on to them and stay longer. So initially in 3 to 4 months, you will know whether the manager or the leader you're working for is good or not, right? So look out for those signals. Is leader seriously interested in your career? Is leader is grooming you and mentoring you and coaching you? Is leader very clearly has identified your strengths and weaknesses, and his leader is able to coach you on those weaknesses? If you don't see any of, and does your leader inspire you, right? Does that manager or leader, do you look up to that leader? If that is not the case, then you should try to move to a different team or a different company, and don't waste your time. And this rule does not apply even just for your first job, it applies throughout your career. And believe me, in tech industry, we have a shortage of good leaders, especially at entry level, especially at initial level. There is a shortage of good leaders. So please be very picky about for whom you work for, and because the good leader end up teaching you a lot. And technical stack or technology is something that you can anyway learn and master over the period of time. So next one is, I covered the small versus big company. Then startup versus established, front end and back end is covered. Now preparing for the tech career. So this is the last topic. So before that, let me see. There is a question from Harshit. What should I have to choose the skills in which I am very good and learn fast, or skills in which I am interested in? So now this is a very good question, Harshit, right? So you need to see what is that you enjoy. So if you are good at something already, right? If you are good at building a mobile application, say for example, and this is something that you already love and enjoy doing, then you should try to build your career in that. Now, should you learn backend systems? Then yes, of course you can learn backend systems, but we in industry, you can, there are the different companies, especially if you go with startups, they want you to be a full stack developer. What does a full stack developer means? You somebody who will develop from this end of the user experience to the other end, which means something from the mobile applications or the client side UI till all the way you develop the backend database, right? So every layer in between, that is called full stack. So I would say build upon your strong skills, use your strong skills and area of interest as your initial career choice and excel in it, right? And try to land into a good company, land into a good job, or start your own company and lead that department or that area, right? And then build skills and abilities in other areas. It is extremely difficult to become too good with the entire stack, like from the client till all the way to data and services. It is extremely difficult to be a master across the stack. So really, you need to be good, really good at something, and then other areas you should have some good idea how those things work and how those things could be integrated. So any other questions other than that? How much is the next question is from Anil. How much is that impact of location in hiring? Just because Bangalore seems to attract a lot of software engineers, does this make relatively easier to get into Microsoft Hyderabad? Not really, because the college hiring is done in a common pool. So when the hiring happens, it is not specifically for Bangalore or Hyderabad. So there is a total count. I mean, even that total count is not very rigid. I mean, if we find more good people, in fact, the recruiters are willing to go beyond that number. So often, I have been part of so many recruitment trips, and every time we ask this question, saying, "Hey, is there any target?" They say that no, as many good people we can get, and always we have gotten less number of people than actual number of open positions we have. We have never been in a situation where we got more people than actual open positions, and the location really doesn't matter. Any any other questions?
You all can even unmute and just ask. I mean, you don't
Yeah,
have to type in the question.
yeah, that would be good.
Yeah, ma'am. Thank you, ma'am. Hello, sir. It's nice to meet you. I'm a dual degree student, electrical fourth year student, and my placement obviously in the next year. So I wanted to ask, like, is there a like chance of getting internship in my fourth year? Because like in our IIT Bombay, we are having internship. For internship, we can do internship in only third year. But so by our college internship cell.
Okay.
So uh, is there a chance, like I'm keenly interested in deep learning and deep learning, machine learning, AI type, and I'm having one publication at ECC conference, and I have done two internship. One is in AWL Japan, and one is in uh, Aalborg University Denmark. So I wanted to just ask if there is a chance to get internship by just to approach Microsoft people or something.
Sure. So you can, I'll just type my mail ID here. So you can drop the resume to this address. I'll check to HR and get back to you.
Thank you so much, sir.
Yeah. So it's mahesh.arali at microsoft.com. We do have a program, a referral program for internships too. But more than 95%, of the internship candidates we do find through campus recruitment. There is a provision for referring as well. I'll try to check and then mention what is the at what from what period to what period you are looking for the internship.
Yes, sir. Sure, sir. Thank you,
Okay.
sir.
Any other questions? So what do you think? Like, I mean, anybody want to share your opinion whether you want to join a startup or you want to join an established company, or did any of these questions came? Some of the questions that I answered, did these thoughts have they come in your mind before? Whether you are struggling to find answers for this, whether to go for higher studies or join an established company or start your own company. Are you dealing with these questions, or you already had clarity on some of these? For okay, Vipin has a question. For full stack development, which technology is good to learn for front end development in today? So Vipin, for front end, what I see is React is getting more popular. The reason being, if you build in React, this is something that can work on mobile apps and as well as web apps too. So slowly React is becoming popular, and then on the web, even the Angular and based on JavaScript, right? Even that is popular because you can still have those things work for phone as well as your tablets and web and desktop. Now, the interesting part about front end is there is a huge amount of innovation that happens in front end. The technical stack in front end keeps changing every few years. So the the way the front end has evolved in last 10 15 years is just mind blowing, and I'm anticipating it will continue. So one thing with front end, if you're focusing on front end, then you need to keep learning and keep yourself up to date always. The fundamentals of HTML and web pages and all those things would remain same. It is just that the new frameworks and libraries that will keep evolving. And most of these frameworks and libraries, they are helping to solve you very fundamental problems like how can I just write code one time and then make it work across different screens and devices, right? And how can I leverage things across the board? How can I get some of the very high standard privacy, security, compliance related things achieved? So this is what some of these core frameworks and libraries are helping you. And then also try to now different companies like even Microsoft is trying to come up with some of these front end frameworks where you can have that native look and feel experience. Okay, so we have another 15 minutes, so I'll jump on to our last topic, which is about preparing for the tech career. So I see there is one more question. I'll answer this one and then go to the last topic. There are some issues with the mic. If we spend like 25 Okay. If we spend like 25, 30 years in software industry, what career choices will be left with? There are only few top positions in firms and not sure if anybody will pay us that much for just development. What is the scope of a game development in India? Okay. So Anil's question, right? See, Anil, what happens is uh, as the industry is growing, right, the number of companies are growing. So the number of top positions are also growing. The number of top positions are not fixed. Like if you compare number of CEOs we have in tech 10 years ago and now, even that number has exploded, right? So the leadership skill, and this is one point. The opportunities are also growing. The second part, as you grow in the career, right? The skill you develop is basically being a leader of running an organization. Now, you could be running a tech industry, or you could be running an industry where technology is widely used. I'll share my opinion. What do you guys think the Asian Paints is? Is Asian Paints a paint company or it is a tech company? Right? You will all say that what kind of question is right? Asian Paints is a paint company. But if you drill down deep into Asian Paints, you realize that this is more tech company and less of a paint company. Asian Paints got supercomputers before even IIT Bombay got one. Asian Paints has one of the best ERP software in the world. Asian Paints has the shortest duration from raw material to collecting the cash from customer. Asian Paints has one of the best data analytics systems in India. The company runs on technology. They invested in building this software, and According to me, Asian Paints is a technical company which happens to make paint, right? Another example. Now, somebody who is leading Asian Paints, if that person comes from a software background, will be far more successful and far more effective. Another company where you can think on similar lines is Tesla. Is Tesla automobile company or is it a tech company? Right? And my opinion here again is Tesla is a tech company. Sorry, Prakash, you want to say something?
No, thank you, sir.
Yeah. So according, my opinion is Tesla is a tech company which happens to make cars right now, right? Or happens to make batteries. And this pattern or this trend will happen. You will see that happen in next 10 years. Another example. Uh, Many of the big banks in India, for example, you take State Bank of India, they have more than 5,000 software engineers. So now banking, which is now we call as banking, in another 10 years, this will be also a tech company which happens to do banking. So every industry will be transformed in a way that is we are not able to see or anticipate right now. So, and if companies which will not onboard to this journey, they will be not so effective in competing with the companies where they are changing this whole adoption of technology. See, the so far the IT or software has been used in just communication, tracking reports, right? Very simple business process automation. But as you see in next 1 decade, the whole business model will change. Fundamentally, every company will become a technical company. So there is a very nice saying or quote from Satya. What he says is, see, last 1 decade, the software services industry created job for millions of users. Right now, the next million jobs will come from non-technical industries. It could be banking, pharma, automobile, and any of the other manufacturing industries. So all of these industries will start hiring software engineers. And currently they used to buy software from somebody or outsource it to somebody, but many of these companies will have an in-house software development team in this decade. So there is a huge scope. There is a huge scope for software development. And if you stay in this industry, if you work in this industry, say 25, 30 years, you don't have to worry about your job, or you don't have to worry about what you will do after 25 years. So Anil, I hope that answers your question. So next question is from Shani. He's asking, what is the scope of game development? See, the gaming is going to grow and explode in not just India, even outside. And the good part about India is whatever happens in, say, Silicon Valley, it just takes couple of months or few months for that to come to India. So when before I moved to India from US just 1 year ago, and when I was in US for 6 years, there were so many interesting businesses and so many interesting business process automations that I looked and I said, man, when will this come to India, right? And when I landed here, and it's been 1 year, what I see is all of those ideas and things are here already. In fact, India has leapfrogged US in some of the areas. So everything from today's morning newspaper to milk, right, and to bread, vegetables, laundry bills. There are so many things in our day-to-day life that personally I am using mobile apps to get those things done. And the penetration of technology right now in India is way higher than what I experienced in US. There is so much of automation that has happened, and that is not, this trend will continue not just for gaming, it will continue for all other industries. There is not much of a difference between when a new trend or technology starts in US and time it takes to arrive for that trend to come in India. So Harshit, Shani, I hope that answers your question. So next is Harshit. Nowadays, coding and tech skills become so much popular. Correct. So now Harshit is continuing. So will it convert into a competition like JE Advanced for crack a interview? Now, in spite of so much content being available and so many courses being available, so many websites and competitions being available, Harshit, I can tell you that still our selection rate is very low. Like when we interview 10 candidates from, I don't want to name colleges here, but when we interview, 10 candidates, like from each college, we are able to pick 5 or 10 people. Why is that? Right? Why is that? And what we see is the way the coding is being learned, the way the algorithms and data structures are being learned, there is still so much to improve. And a lot depends also on practice. So unless and until the student puts enough hours practicing it, then they would not get it. And then also fundamentals. A lot of the times we find it very surprising. A person is able to write a code in very advanced data structures, but then when going deeper through code and having that discussion, they are struggling to understand where does the memory allocation happen for this, right? So the fundamentals we find weak. I find it, however, the quality is improving year over year compared to 10 years ago, and now I see a huge improvement, but then there is still a lot to be improved. So next question is Prakash. Just I'm curious, why do companies not open for all, if any time they are vacant position for employees? See, companies are. I didn't get your question fully, Prakash. So I'm just let me read it again.
Or Prakash could just ask.
Yeah, Prakash, can you ask? I'm not able to understand it correctly.
Yeah, actually, sir, सारे कॉलेज में डिफरेंट ऑफर ओपन फॉर ऑल ब्रांचेस.
Okay, okay. All branches. हाँ हाँ. प्रकाश, all branches वाला चक्कर क्या है? जो CS ब्रांच में है, कभी कभी उन स्टूडेंट्स के बाद when we interview those students, we are finding some issues with fundamentals, clarity with fundamentals, right? People who studied as their part of curriculum, operating systems, data structures, algorithm, we find gaps in those candidates. Now it is all about how much time we want to invest versus how much people we can find. So if we interview other branch candidates, I'm sure there will be some good candidates we'll find. But then the ratio of number of candidates we'll have to interview to get final candidate shortlisted, that ratio will be smaller. And since all the interviewers, they all travel over the weekend, right? And away from their team and family, and they invest this extra time in recruiting, they really want to optimize on how much uh, what is the hit ratio or conversion ratio, right? So however, I have seen a lot of people do lateral entry. So they may not get through it through the campus, but then once they work in some of the startups and the other companies, and then they gain experience. So I have seen a lot of non-computer science students do a lateral entry into companies like Microsoft. So why do they not do it for all? It is just amount of effort involved. It's okay. So the part is preparing for the tech interviews. So please do basically, if you want to make a career in college, you have to build something. It could be a website, it could be a mobile app, right? Unless you build something, you will not understand it in a very detailed way. So if you are building something already very good, keep it up. If you aren't building anything right now, please start building something. And take very idea don't have to be a very new idea could be something that's already available. Just build it your own way, right? Build it for your college, build it for Dakshana, or build it for something else, but just try to build something. Build a website or an app or a web service that you think will be useful. The second thing is coding. If you want to have a career in tech and you don't want to be a program manager and product managers where coding is not required, then there is no alternative than writing code every day. So writing code every day is almost like the way you practice any other things, right? Whether it's athletics, yoga, or gym, right? The more you do it, you build that muscle to write code and muscle to debug code, the muscle to design software, and that only comes through practice. There is no shortcut to it. So there are now a lot of very good websites like HackerRank and Lead Code, right? You can just go and keep solving exercises and keep practicing coding there on those websites. The advantage with those websites is once you write the code get automatically tested, so you know how good the code is. Is it performant? Is it functionally correct? That feedback loop is available on these websites. So that is one. And then there is a very nice book from Gal Lackman. I'll send the link in the meeting chat, Cracking the Coding Interview. I strongly recommend reading that book. So that will tell you everything from all the rounds, what is the interviewer psychology, what is that they're looking for, and how to prepare systematically for all the tech companies. So highly recommend reading that book. Then on YouTube, you can find mock interviews taken by Gal Lackman with other students. So you can search for these mock interviews on YouTube. I'll send those links as well in the meeting chat. So that will give you an example of how these mock interviews are being done. Now there is enough content available already on the internet on how to prepare for tech interviews. Lot of questions I got when I get when I go to IITs is that, hey, my my CGPA is not meeting the criteria and it is below the cutoff. What do I do? You don't have to lose your heart over this. Start with the small company, work for a couple of years, try to be the best programmer, try to be the best product engineer, try to be the best designer. Within 2 years you can make that flip. So only that you will have that entry barrier. If you have a lower CGPA score, you will have that entry barrier, but that barrier is very temporary, just for initial 1-2 years. But after that, you will break out of that barrier. Now for students who are not in computer science, not from computer science background, same thing applies to you as well. If you want to make a career in tech, especially in software, then please study data structures, algorithms, operating system. These are three important, and then the software design or system design. So these are the four important subjects you need to study extra, and then practice programming, and then you can also start with smaller companies first, and then eventually try working for bigger companies or start your own company. So that's it from my side. For the remaining things, I'll share links on the meeting chart. Now we can spend another few minutes on Q&A. We are it's already 8 p.m. So I can take questions for a few more minutes.
Hi, everyone. Do you have any questions? Like I said before, don't miss this opportunity.
Yeah. Meanwhile, I'm just sending you the links.
You all can just unmute and ask your questions. You don't have to type. So just go for it.
Yeah. And language is not a barrier. You can ask me
Yeah.
in Hindi if you are comfortable with Hindi. Okay, so this is the book you should read. I send the link.
Okay. Awesome.
So, how many of you are practicing already on Lead Code and HackerRank? Or you are too busy with doing your assignments that you don't get time?
No, sir, we have practiced at our internship before when we have to do get for internship ready.
Okay. So I just sent those two websites. They're really good, and it is little funny to, I'll share some interesting perspectives. So when I change teams within Microsoft, uh, even there will be an interview for me as well. So I'll be also asked to design and write code on the board. So I do refresh. I do take a refresher course, and then whatever I'm recommending to you, I have myself read them and practice them every time I change job within Microsoft. So this is not just a one time thing to get a job. This is something that will last at least 10-15 years, because after 10-15 years is where you start getting into leadership roles, and then your interview questioning changes. Once you get into leadership role, then your questions are more on leadership skills and very high level system design questions.
As they say, learning is a continuing process in life
Yes.
always.
Yeah. So, did any one of you give interview with Microsoft either for internship or for full time position? And then there is another round which is especially for system design. Gal Lackman covers it at a greater length in her book, so you can read that book. But for system design, now there have been lot of very good videos on YouTube. You can search for system design, uh, system design on YouTube, and you can get a lot of good content on YouTube. So this is one of the round and super important one, and we see a lot of time students are not well prepared for the system design round. Mock interview.
So I had a question, and this may be this may be a question that many of our alums might have. Is that in technical interviews, how important is communication skills?
So usually, Shamila, we discount it. Discount it. We don't. As long as the person is able to convey the thought. So there have been time where when person is good, we have given some exception where we say, "Bhai tu, Hindi mein samjha do." So,
Okay.
but these are rare. The guy is extremely good in programming, extremely good in writing code. So we give that exception because language is something that can be learned and picked up. But becoming an extremely good programmer is very hard. Requires a lot of hours of hard work. So it is discounted early in the career and early. But communication is super important for program manager and product manager roles. So anybody with weaker communication cannot thrive in that role. So there it would be they would not get selected. But for programmer role, as long as person can communicate the idea better, then it would be discounted. However, like Warren Buffett very rightly said, right? Warren Buffett says that if you are good with your communication, your career will do at least 50% better,
Mm, exactly.
right? So
True.
it is super important, and you will see that even when you crack and get a job, the how your career grows a lot depends on communication. And after 10 years it becomes super important because then you get into leadership role, and in leadership role, if you're not good at communication, then how will you inspire people, right? How do you build
Right.
consensus? How do you negotiate? How do you change the direction, right? How do you bring change? All of that requires to be very good at communication. So
Right.
if you're not good at communication, even when you graduate, you have to invest the time and energy to get better at it in your career. So Anil is saying, okay, he had, but then managerial round. Yeah, so managerial round. So Anil, just to clarify, while the managerial round has a lot of power, but then he alone or she alone is not the one who makes the decision. It is the feedback across the round. So, and also the manager who is interviewing you in campus need not be the same person whom you will work for a report to, because the campus recruitment is a single pool as well. But then I would love to talk to you. We can get on a call and discuss and see how did it go, and try to identify why you what happened and why you couldn't crack it. So you can share your experience, and then I can help to find if there are any blind spots. So uh, yeah, Sharmila, can you help me connect with Anil Kumar later?
Sure, sure, we'll do that. So
Yeah,
Seema has a
yeah,
question.
yeah. So Seema is saying I didn't get a chance to apply for MS as my branch was not allowed to apply. Is there any chance I can apply off campus? So even in off campus, initially, right, as a fresher, there are these conditions of what college, what course, what is your CGPA. All of those rules are same, whether you apply directly through my reference or through campus, right? But once you work somewhere, then you are coming in a lateral entry, right? Then those barriers go away. So if your profile is not getting selected right now, uh, work for other companies for a couple of years, and then you can reach out to me. And you can go to these companies career website and try to look what kind of skills they look for somebody with 2 to 3 year experience, right? So search for software engineer two roles, right? Software design engineer or software engineer two roles, and try to look for job openings and read the description, job description there, and that will give you lot more insights of what they expect after 2 3 years of experience, right? So that would be a one assignment for all of you to go to different company websites and career pages and try to search for the jobs and read the job description, and you know where you are today, right? And if your resume has to sound like that job description after 3 to 4 years from now, you have to figure out that journey from where you are to that job description. So target the job description and then say that, hey, whatever they have written in this job description, I should work in a way that can be part of my resume in next 3 to 4 years. Okay, so yeah, I
Yeah,
think
so it
Sharmila, I
seems
think
like,
yeah.
yeah, yeah. So thank you so much, Mahesh, for the time. And I'm sure the alums must have been very thrilled because you are also like one of them. You're next JNV alumni. I mean, you're a JNV alumni, so we're all in the same fraternity. And I think they have really benefited a lot from what they have learned today, I'm sure. And we look forward to being in touch with you like this. Probably try and make it like a little, more frequent in the year, maybe. And they'll really appreciate your time for this. So thank you so much for sharing your valuable time and your knowledge with us, and your email ID is shared with them, so I'm sure they will be in touch with you. I'll connect you to Anil, of course, and we look forward to more meetings with you.
Great.
Thank you so
Thank you.
much, and wish you a very, very happy Diwali. Thank you very
Thank
much.
you. Thank you. Thank you, Sharmila. I look forward to talk to more scholars. Thanks for organizing this and wish you all happy Deepavali.
Thank
Bye.
you. Bye bye. Thank you.